It's finally time. After almost 6 straight months, we can finally talk about Berserk again. Not just for this month, but for November as well. We're eating good this autumn. The good times are finally back. So last we left off, the party were taken by the Kushan army back to their capital, seemingly led by the bakiraka and Master Daiba. The old sorcerer received a prophecy leading him to the exact location of the seahorse. There, the party runs into Rickert, who is stunned by the beaten and broken state everyone is left as, especially Guts himself, still reeling from the events at Elfhelm and just barely able to be saved from the Beast of Darkness by the sudden appearance of Shrike. Whether that was actually her or just a manifestation in Guts' mind remains to be seen. All we know is that Guts has been locked up in prison, considered far too dangerous to be left walking around. The rest of the party and the Elfhelm sorcerers were taken under the wing of the Kushan Empire, who don't even try to hide the fact they're planning to introduce them into their military. They are well aware that Griffith has eyes on their kingdom and are building a new army to stand against him. They plan to train the Elfhelm sorcerers in the ways of Kushan magic, hoping to use their immense talent against the war demons, being the only true hope they have to stand against the legions of hell. But we knew something has been bubbling under the surface for a while. Tensions are high, for an ungodly amount of reasons, and Griffith's army is on the move eastward. All it takes is a single spark for the powder keg to pop off and kick things into a bloodbath. Well, my friends, this chapter is that exact spark. Can't spoil it yet, but we're pushing things into overdrive. The build-up is said and done. It's time to bring things back to the ass-kicking. So the chapter starts off with the party getting used to the new land they've stepped foot into. Isidro is amazed by the presence of elephants, thinking they're some kind of monsters that the Kushans have tamed, but Rickert explains that they're just regular animals. They keep them as pets. Also, just a quick aside, the studies have shown that elephants view humans essentially the same way as we view puppies. So if you're having a bad day, just remember that an elephant out there thinks you're cute. Also, just for full disclosure, at the time of recording this video, the only English translations so far are machine translated. The raws are all in Arabic, which granted is easier to translate than Japanese, but regardless there may be some stuff lost in translation or things that when the official English actually comes out will not match one-to-one. It's just one of those things. Anyway, the party and the Elfhelm mages are walked through the streets of the Kushan capital. Gedfring reminds everyone that while their culture is different, the Kushans are human like the rest of them, so they must accept their ways and be grateful to be given shelter. Even if they are those who walk the path of magic, if anything, it's especially because of that. They must show respect and the best side of their ways. Gedfring shows this by thanking Rickert for the rescue, admitting that the mage has been cut off the world for a very long time, so who knows what would have happened if they were not rescued. Morda teases the elder mage, calling it another lecture before riding off on her broomstick, most likely to scout around the city and get a feel for their new home. Farnese decides to go ahead to the palace to check on Shrike, worried about her teacher, and Serpico joins her, telling Rickert to watch over Magnifico and I guess just make sure he doesn't stumble into something that will get him killed. Isidro thinks the job sounds boring, but it's an important one nonetheless, because Magnifico, well, to put it simply, that boy ain't right. While the party splits off, it seems like Rickert hesitates for a second. As it turns out, he's still thinking about the statement made last chapter, of how the Kushans plan to use the mages to wage war on Griffith. He's still racked with worry about the idea of fully accepting that nobody can swim against the current anymore, and more than likely, everyone was going to die. Just as he's growing hesitant, however, the sun shines down in his face, resting against the massive palace. Back at said palace, Roderick and Salat discuss the anointment of the new Kushan emperor, quick to replace Ganishka after he got in touch with his roots. Which, to be fair, probably isn't a rare thing in Kushan politics. The little bit we saw of it during Millennium Falcon War implied that they probably go through leaders like a fat guy goes through hot dinners. And this emperor is probably said fat guy, cause he isn't as intimidating as Ganishka, to put it in a polite sense. Still, the emperor is assembling a Kurultai, a secret meeting made up of the various clans and tribal leaders of the empire. To put it simply, it's a war council. The Kushans proved to be superstitious lot, believing Ganishka was defeated because he discarded the Kurultai, becoming a dictator that neglected the traditions of his people. Of course, that's a simplified version of what happened, but it is what it is. Roderick is confused how the Kushans have been able to weather so much in such a short amount of time, from the death of Ganishka to the astral realm changing the world. Despite everything, even the laws of reality breaking down, the morale among the empire remains high. Master Daiba explains the secret behind it all. It's time. Kushans have always had a violent history, from political coups to tribal war, some so bad that he compares it to the war with the demons. It's to the point that Daiba says the only difference between all of these events are simply the numbers of corpses. So there's only one response to Griffith's threats on their land: they will not kneel before devils. Simple as that. Roger can't help but respect the Kushans. He was already well aware of their reputation when it came to warfare. Their entire history has been violence. Every soldier he sees has the markings of a veteran, something that puts Roderick on edge, as he has to remind himself he basically walked straight into the jaws of the enemy. The Kurultai begins with the new emperor telling Salat to debrief everyone on the situation. as him and his men are the only ones that were able to infiltrate the West and see how vast Griffith's influence has become. It seems like he's open to the advice of the bakiraka, despite their clan having the reputation of an outdated assassins guild that were seen as little more than slaves now. As the meeting proceeds, Daiba pulls Roderick aside and admits something to him. He has a bad feeling about this, outright telling him he doesn't feel like the meeting will go well at all. But Salat simply says that's what he's hoping for. Suddenly, one of the men at the meeting speaks up, the leader of the northern tribes. He says that the Kurultai would have never been possible under Ganishka, and this is an almost historic event compared to the last emperor's reign. Nevertheless, he can't keep quiet about one part, that certain people don't belong at the meeting, certain members of a tribe that have a rocky history with the empire, and seen as little more than an untouchable caste that sully the very ground the palace stands on. Yeah, he's quick to start shit-talking Salat openly, and this ends up causing a fuss, the northern tribe leader trying to derail the meeting in order to throw out Salat and the bakiraka. Roderick is shocked at the sudden commotion, but Salat simply taking it in stride, staying silent even as the anger in the room grows. Another member of the meeting tries to bring things back into focus, admitting he's confused why this is even suddenly an issue. They have much larger things to worry about than an old blood feud with a different clan, even saying that focusing on this will only make things worse, everyone fighting amongst each other instead of the common enemy. The new emperor, shockingly, actually takes the side of the forgiving general, saying that the times of when they were all tribes split apart from each other is over. They must show unity if they want to have any hope at stopping Griffith. He tells the northern tribe leader to not make any more statements about the bakiraka. They are welcome at the meeting like the rest of them. The emperor blames the broken apart nature of the Kushans on Ganishka, who never even tried to foster unity among the people. Their enemies are the demons, and they need everyone they can to help fight them. It's only made worse by the fact the Kushan government was, as it turns out, largely kept in the dark about Ganishka's experiments. They were hoping Daiba could catch everyone up on what exactly happened in the last war that caused all this. And he does exactly that, horrifying the entire council. They weren't even aware of the existence of the Daka or the other experiments Ganishka performed during the war. They just assumed he was a regular tyrant, not a full-blown demon dabbling in black magic. Salat then takes the opportunity to bow before the emperor, shocking even him at the sudden show of humility. But he did this to ask the emperor for a single favor: make him a general in the Kushan army. The way Salat sees it, their people have no future so long as Griffith is still alive. Salat, the bakiraka, and the mages are the only ones capable of fighting him. They have the most experience battling magical creatures and demons. They need to be in command if they want to win. The northern tribe's leader pipes up once again, accusing Salat of trying to deceive the emperor, that the bakiraka simply want to turn the emperor into a puppet, but this insult doesn't have the same impact as the last one. The entire room is turning on him. But then something happens. The tribe leader starts to convulse, and strange black markings split out from his back. The man screams in agony as the room watches in horror. Roderick and Daiba immediately spotting what the issue is. The man's a demon. He reeks of demonic energy. Daiba warns the men approaching the tribe leader to stay away, but unfortunately he's not fast enough to prevent those black markings to fire out of the man's body, impaling everyone around him with spikes. He was a living nail bomb. Back at Shrike's room, Farnese and the others also pick up on the presence of the demon, Farnese herself rushing out of the room much to everyone's surprise. But she already knows the man for this mission. Guts. She's on her way to free the guy from his cell, himself already alerted to the presence of the demon from the blood leaking out from his brand, something that unsettles him greatly. A demon showed up right as he's processing the worst ass-kicking he's received in his entire life. An event that pushed him to the breaking point, ruined his life again, and threw him into a mental spiral that he just barely caught himself from falling into. To put it simply, the beast is hungry, and this thing just walked right into its cage. We also get a reveal of who exactly the demon is. It's Roxus, the supernatural assassin that hunted after Rickard back in Falconia. His mask still shattered from the battle they had before, but this time, he's forgoing all subtlety, exploding out the puppet's back and rising to his full form, already transformed into his full-on demon form. And that's the chapter. We get a lead-in for the next full-blown fight scene. It's Roxus versus the bakiraka in a sudden rematch, with a very pissed-off Guts seconds away from being unleashed. No more build-up, no more licking their wounds. Now comes the time to inflict some wounds on some poor son of a bitch. This chapter got me hyped beyond all belief. We essentially got a mirror of the Griffith Council scene from Falconia, but this time in the Kushan Empire. We see that the old blood between the bakiraka and the rest of the Kushans is almost completely squashed, with Roxus attempting to prey on this old feud in order to split the empire apart and keep them distracted from the larger picture. Also, don't think you're so clever that I didn't pick up on the comparisons between Salat and Griffith, both men who start at the bottom who had to work their way upwards, using nothing but their skill set in order to do it, and earn respect from those that see them as lesser. I saw what you're doing there, I saw. It was pretty cool. Now this does raise a few interesting questions. We see Roxus is still partially wounded from his battle with Rickard, or at the very least he hasn't forgotten it considering the state of his mask. So this could either be Roxus following orders from Griffith to destabilize the Kushans and keep them fighting amongst each other, or this is personal beef he has with the bakiraka, who damn near killed him. Occam's razor says that it's probably both. He gets to help Griffith with his war, and he gets to murder the men that set him on fire. 2 birds, 1 stone. Still, he probably wasn't planning on the meeting going this way. Now he's completely exposed right in front of the warrior clan that know how to fight him. Granted, he can do a lot of damage even in this situation. Just kill the right people in the room fast enough and the council's crippled for the rest of the war. If he's lucky, he might even be able to kill Daiba before he can summon any magic. Roxus was never really meant to be a straight-up fighter. He's an assassin, so while he can kill a lot of people very fast, then slip out before they can react, it's still something to where in a straight-up fight, he's at a disadvantage. But I think his grudge against the bakiraka will make him slip up. He'll want to take his time with them, time he doesn't have because there's an extremely pissed-off demon hunter that wants to get his hands on the nearest living demonic thing and make it not alive anymore. The question is whether or not the beast can be contained, considering Guts' rage is beyond measure now. Granted, they took the Berserker armor off him, so it can't really control him like it usually does, but of course Farnese is going to help him get his supplies back, why wouldn't she? So as it stands, we finally have another face-off between the party and one of Griffith's generals. And honestly, it's fitting that's Roxus. Not only is he the creepiest one, but he's also the most vulnerable. We've seen him wounded more than once, and he's also the least mentally stable. As it stands, he's probably the weakest of the War Demon generals, so having him the first to be relieved of his position is a good way to kick off the war. Although he's the weakest War Demon, he still is an extremely powerful warrior, one that can easily challenge the party even if they have history. And him dying would still be a massive blow to Griffith. The man has spent the last half of the manga essentially playing on easy mode, raising an army, brainwashing all of Midland to worship him, changing the rules of reality itself. The guy's been untouchable for a long time now. He can even go straight to the Sanctuary of Mages, his mortal enemies, and nuke the place in less than an hour. Even a single loss of his demons would be a catastrophic blow, something that could easily snowball into something he, for once, can't control. And who better to deal that blow than Guts? The man he has wronged so many times, stepped all over, and broken into nothing. Now's the time for payback, to the biblical degree. Guts needs the final blow, not just for the story, but for himself as the character, to finally unleash all that pent-up, violent thoughts he has swirling in his head, to regain the strength he will need to battle Griffith and rescue Casca, and of course, to punish demons. Guts was the captain of the Raiders for a reason, a hammer Griffith used to break apart an entire nation into pieces. The man is a living weapon of war. Vengeance is his, and he shall repay it in spades. The Black Swordsman shall ride again. But that's about all I can say about this new chapter. It's an adrenaline rush, to put it simply. It starts off as another build-up moment, exploring the Kushan political system with more depth than just the one-man tyrant show we got with Ganishka. The revelation that the rest of the Empire had no idea about the demon experiments he was getting up to is a surprising one. Ganishka kept everyone in the dark about his plans, which speaks to the idea that he himself was probably just simply piloted by Griffith to get him to the point the God Hand wanted him to go. But now the rest of the Empire know the game. They aren't going down without a fight, and they have the tools and the manpower to be a major pain in the ass for Griffith's plans. They're a nation that fully embraced sorcery and magic, something established to throw a wrench in the plans of the God Hand. They can exist outside of Griffith's influence, to not be characters in a story, tricked into thinking their thoughts are their own. Yeah, I can't wait for the new chapter. It's going to be incredible. But you want to know what also is incredible? Gamer subs, use code TAL at checkout. They have new cups and flavors. They're super cool. New cups and shirts. They even have hats, cool hats. Buy a hat. Use the code. Use the code. Use the code of Berserk can delay it again. Alright, I'm not even going to finish that joke. That's too much bad juju right there. Still use the code. Regardless, that's about all I can say about the new Berserk chapter. Things are picking up once again, and it's one hell of a way to jump the pace in overdrive. This fight is one that's been teased for a while. Guts versus one of the War Demons. On equal footing, no longer consumed by the Berserker armor, no longer getting interrupted by something. It is a classic fight to the death. Now granted, he's never fought Roxus before. Luckily, he's got some people with him that have experience in the matter, and if Salah can go toe-to-toe with Roxus, just imagine the pain Guts can dish out. You know, the guy who beat Salah when he wasn't even at his prime, or enhanced with the Berserker armor, and wasn't pissed off so badly he's chomping at the bit to kill something. This fight's gonna be a good one, I can't wait. Still, that's about it for now. Next month cannot come fast enough. Until next time, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys. Hey, loser. Do you want a shirt? Do you want a t-shirt? I have shirts now. Look in the description for a link to a t-shirt you can buy. If you don't buy the t-shirt, I'll kill your family. If you don't buy the t-shirt, I'll poison your dog. If you don't buy the t-shirt, you're gonna be the only person in town that does not have a t-shirt. Everyone's gonna look at you funny. There's gonna be social consequences to not having one of these t-shirts. I am now making express threats of violence against you if you do not buy my t-shirt. I will call the police, tell them how you're not buying my shirt. They're gonna plant crack in your house, and they're gonna arrest you and then beat you up in a jail cell. Buy my shirt.